Hey, what is going on, guys? In this video today, we're going to be taking a look at Fortnite Content Update 7.30 and highlighting a major issue in Fortnite that this update represents. This update probably wasn't as crazy as the last 2 to 3 have been, but there's still a lot of interesting and important stuff in here. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, so let's start this video off by doing a quick summary of the most important parts of Content Update 7.30. And I just want to say right off the bat that although this video will probably get a bit negative towards the end, I really do think this is a good update as a whole. So the first notable part of Content Update 7.30 was the addition of Environmental Campfires into the game. Well, I guess they weren't technically added into the game because they've always been on the map, but now you can actually use them. And here's a nice little description directly from the patch notes that tells you everything you need to know about them. They are campfire props in the world that can now be lit by interacting with them. The environmental campfire behaves like the cozy campfire, healing 2 health per second for 25 seconds to all nearby players. Each campfire can only be used once per match, and you can tell if a campfire's been used by whether or not you can still see wood in it. When this was initially announced, a lot of people speculated that you were going to have to pay some amount of wood to actually activate it. But it turns out that isn't the case. It really is as simple as just walking up to one and holding square/X. And I simply think this is a great addition to the game. Campfires are a really powerful form of healing, especially in team game modes like squads, so giving players the ability to now use such an awesome healing item in a non-RNG way is literally exactly what Fortnite needs more of. But since these campfires on the map have been totally useless up until now, I'm guessing you guys probably have no clue where about 90+% of them are located. Don't worry, here's a nice little map that shows all the environmental campfire locations. As you can see, there's actually a ton of them, and they're really well spread throughout the entire map. So definitely try to memorize as much of this as possible because you want to make sure to get to them before anybody else does. Next important piece of this new content update is something that people are very happy about, and that is the vaulting of the boombox. This was one of those items that was trouble for Fortnite from pretty much the second it was announced. I actually specifically remember logging into Fortnite one day and seeing in the main menu of the game the coming soon news announcement for the boombox. And it basically said something like, use this item to create strong bursts of music that deal structure damage to a large area. So it basically went against everything that the majority of Fortnite players wanted. And Epic did do some considerable nerfs to make it less OP than it was when it was initially added, but even in its weakest state, it was still incredibly annoying to deal with. So I think that just removing it from the game altogether was probably the best course of action at the end of the day. Next up, we got an interesting update regarding the Architect Pop-Up Cup. If you missed it, last week Fortnite added the Architect Pop-Up Cup as a way to test a new potential editing change that allowed players to edit any structure in Fortnite no matter if they built it or not. And although a lot of people thought it was an interesting idea and were willing to give it a fair shot, the majority of feedback about the change was mostly negative. It just promoted way too much blind aggression in fights and made defensive building almost totally useless. The good news is, Epic said from the very beginning that they plan to listen very closely to the feedback from the community about the change. And that's actually exactly what they ended up doing. Epic states in the patch notes that they removed the ability to edit enemy structures in the Architect Pop-Up Cup. Thank you for your feedback. So I think that puts an end to any possibility that this change would be added into regular Battle Royale. And based on my experience with it, that's definitely a good thing. Then we have some slight tweaks to the drop rate and other miscellaneous changes for certain items. I'll just read them off directly here. Reduce the chance of receiving rocket ammo out of ammo boxes from 12% to 6%. Reduce the chance to receive dynamite from chests from 7% to 5.33%. Sneaky Snowman will no longer drop from chests. And finally, increase the impulse strength of the launch pad by 28.5%. Fairly self-explanatory stuff there, although I do think the launch pad change is really interesting, and that should be a cool little buff. But now we move into the thing that I want to really go in depth about for the rest of this video. The new item added in Content Update 7.30 is the Bottle Rocket. It's an item which fires 45 rockets of varying speeds randomly within a cone over roughly 9 seconds, and it deals 10 player and 40 environmental damage per explosion. It's green rarity, drops in stacks of 2, has a max stack size of 6, and you can only activate a maximum of 2 at the same time. Now, you may think that I'm going to complain about this item, and specifically the fact that it acts as a counter to structures. However, although that probably is true, in my experience so far with the bottle rockets, they're honestly pretty weak. I would say that the super loud sound of it is more impactful and annoying than the actual damage that it does to structures. But the bottle rockets highlight a pretty significant problem regarding the new items/weapons that are constantly being added into the game. I'm going to put an image on the screen right now that shows every single new weapon/item that's been added to Fortnite since the beginning of the Battle Royale game mode. I'm only going to keep it on the screen for maybe like 20 seconds, so if you want to look at it in depth, feel free to pause the video at any time. When I look at this picture, the first thing I notice is that in those early seasons of Fortnite Battle Royale, a ton of the new weapons/items being added into Fortnite were actually impactful and positive additions to the game. Using Season 2 as an example, I'd say probably 6 or 7 of those 9 new additions were positive, and almost all of them are actually still in the game today. Mini shields, the chug jug, spike trap, campfire, boogie bomb, silenced pistol, and impulse grenades. But as time went on, the new items/weapons being added into the game started to become more and more useless, and in a lot of cases even had a negative impact on the game. I believe this started right around Season 4, but the problem is definitely at its worst now in Season 7. Here are all of the new additions to the game almost exactly 2 months into the season. The plane, the infinity sword, the boombox, presents, the silent sniper, the gliders item, the scoped revolver, the sneaky snowman, chiller grenades, and now bottle rockets. That's 10 new additions so far, and what would you guys say? Maybe 1 or 2 of them have had a positive impact on the game? Honestly, my favorite thing from that entire list is the presents, which were only in the game for a total of a few weeks around Christmas time. The vast majority of things added this season have either been mostly useless, and I would say the scoped revolver, silent sniper, chiller grenade, and sneaky snowman fall into that category, or they've been things that have affected the game in a negative way. I would say that the infinity sword, boombox, plane, and maybe bottle rockets make up that section. Fortnite has clearly established an update schedule that includes at least 1 new item or weapon being added into the game every single week. And I do understand the thought process behind it. They believe it'll keep the game fresh, and people want to play to try out whatever new piece of content has been added. That sounds good in theory, but is that really what's happening? I can't imagine that something like the chiller grenade or scoped revolver is going to make anybody excited enough to boot up Fortnite if they weren't already planning on it. I don't know about you guys, but I almost never even pick up those types of items even on the first day that they're released. And the funny thing is, there are specific areas of Fortnite where new weapons/items are actually needed. For example, there are only 2 shotguns in the game right now, and one of them, the tac shotgun, is borderline unusable. Same thing with the SMGs, you only have the silenced and the compact, that's it. And as I've made a full video about before, we haven't had a new shield-giving item added to Fortnite in over a year now. So a new shotgun, a new SMG, and a new item which grants shields, there's 3 things right off the top of my head that I think everybody would prefer over about 90% of the recent additions to Fortnite. And the saddest thing is, it's getting to a point now where people are almost happy when a useless item is added into the game. A great example of this is the bottle rockets. When they were first announced, people's initial thoughts were, oh my god, this is going to be horrible, it's going to be some awful, overpowered mix between dynamite and the boombox. So when it turned out that it was fairly weak and only annoying because of the sound, people kind of celebrated by being like, yeah, they're annoying and it's going to pollute the item pool a bit, but hey, at least it isn't game ruining. When players are literally celebrating the fact that a new piece of content is only kinda bad, but at least it's not game-breaking, that highlights a very major issue regarding all these new weapons/items being added into the game on a weekly basis. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you watched the entire thing, be sure to let me know with a comment down the comment section below. This video was about the new weapons/items being added into Fortnite, so I want to know, what is your favorite/most memorable weapon/item that has ever been added into Fortnite? If I had to pick one, I'd probably choose mini shields. Be sure to leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications, do whatever the heck you want, and I will catch you guys next time.